An airport says it will be limiting the number of flights at peak times during the March break rush and busy summer travel season.
Flying is disaster.
Pearson's kind of known for being chaotic.
In a bid to be less chaotic, Pearson says it will be putting a hard limit on the number of flights arriving and departing from the airport. But experts say the plan may cause some problems for some would-be travelers. And
I've been consulting with people from across the city.
The race is wide open.
with a by-election date now set, more familiar faces are coming forward announcing their intention to run for Toronto mayor. The current and former city councillors who are eyeing the seat. Plus,
we need more help from the international community for the relief efforts and for the rebuild.
A packed event in Oakville tonight to raise funds and awareness for the victims of the devastating earthquake in Turkey and Syria. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Some big changes are coming to Pearson Airport. The Greater Toronto Airports Authority announcing today it will be placing a hard limit on the number of flights arriving and departing at Pearson ahead of the upcoming March break and summer travel season. Now, it's all in an effort to keep things running smoothly during peak travel times. Chris Glover brings us more details as well as reaction.
Mountains of unclaimed luggage, stranded passengers sleeping wherever. Pearson International Airport has picked up a bad rep lately, at one point ranked as the world's worst airport for flight delays.
It was a chaos there, man. It was like, I would say you watch TV and you don't expect these things to happen, you know, and you see it and you don't know until you actually experience it.
Robert Williams and his family stopped over in Toronto last December en route from Edmonton to Orlando for Christmas. After multiple delays, they were stuck at the airport for a week before finally catching a flight back to Alberta. He blames both Air Canada and Pearson.
They need to overhaul everything there.
Now the Greater Toronto Airports Authority says improvements are coming in time for the March break rush. They include hard limits on the number of flights in any given hour and hourly caps on international passengers arriving and those departing to the States. The GTAA says those slot measures strike a balance between airline commercial interests and capabilities of the entities across the entire airport ecosystem.
They've seen what the schedules are. And they're saying, whoops, we've got too many planes coming in here, too many passengers, we have to cut it back.
This aviation expert says it's a smart step, but some would-be travelers will be disappointed.
You know, I think that it's those passengers whose flights are now going to be canceled because of the fact that the airport cannot accommodate that volume is going to be a problem.
Air Canada says we work with our industry partners to meet the requirements of airports. This includes, as in this case, adapting our schedule as required, which we have done. Air Canada says we always notify customers directly of any changes. Some travelers at Pearson today are eager to see the impact.
The proof's in the pudding. We'll see.
Passenger Salma Mohammed says a solution for baggage is her priority.
I think they should look at why people lose their luggages, as in like limiting them from actually going to their destination.
The GTAA says baggage is a shared responsibility with airlines, and an outside firm is reviewing the airport system.
And it has to be better because no one wants to travel to Toronto anymore. More people are now going through Montreal if they can.
As for that review of the airport's baggage system, the GTAA says that is expected to be completed this spring. And in the meantime, the GTAA says that it is already assessing training, staffing, and technology to see if there are any other changes that they can make right away. Chris Glover, CBC News, Mississauga.
With a date now set for Toronto's mayoral by-election, June 26, more and more people are coming forward announcing their intention to run. This includes two former councillors looking to get back into municipal politics. Alicia Song has the details.
While nominations don't open until April 3rd, some eager potential candidates are already positioning themselves to run, including
I am strongly considering it.
Former deputy mayor and longtime councillor Anna Bailao.
People usually tell me we need somebody that is firm but is fair, and that's what they say I am.
If elected, she says she can hit the ground running with a renewed focus on city matters that she noticed have been fraying.
Housing affordability, TTC safety, TTC reliability. But most importantly, like bar none, it's the services. They want to make sure that you get somebody in there that understands City Hall and that really gets those services working again.
Bailau will likely be facing the city's current housing chair, Beach's East York councillor Brad Bradford.
This really is a new chapter in the city's history going forward, and I'm reaching out to hundreds of folks from across the city, listening to them about what's important for the future of the city and what kind of leadership do we need to best position us on a go-forward basis.
Bradford, like Bailau, aligned with former Mayor John Tory on a lot of issues. And given the current state of the city,
there's issues of safety, there's issues in the minds of people regarding housing, clean streets, commuting.
This political strategist says experience might work against them, as in, why didn't you solve these problems sooner?
But I wonder if we may be going through a period of time where people want an anti-politician.
So some of the familiar faces pondering a run may want to rebrand themselves, like former city councillor from the 90s, Rob Davis, who announced he's making a comeback and running for mayor.
I'm going to take my private sector experience, my public service experience, and the wisdom of time, and I think it's going to mean that I'm going to offer strong leadership to the people of Toronto.
I would say that this is an election which is a sprint, not a marathon, because it's short, and I think anyone could connect and take off this time.
That's kind of exciting then.
What a rare possibility, right? If somebody new and a fresh breath of fresh air in Toronto, we'll see how it goes, right?
We'll only know for sure who's really in the running for mayor of Toronto when the nomination window opens April 3rd and closes May 12th. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Today is the deadline for property owners in Toronto to declare whether their home is vacant or not. If you do own an empty home, you will soon be taxed for it. City Council voted in December 2021 to create a tax on vacant properties. Anyone subject to the tax will pay 1% a year of the home's current assessed market value. Homeowners who don't make a declaration by today could be fined $250. Well, 3 years after it put a pause on the practice, the TTC will once again be on the lookout for ticket evaders. The TTC board has endorsed a plan to resume the practice, with inspectors once again fining people who don't pay starting next month. As Municipal Affairs reporter Sean Jeffords explains, the move to recoup the losses is getting mixed reaction.
Things are about to get a lot more complicated for fare evaders on the TTC.
After a pandemic pause, commissioners voted to resume ticketing at the end of March. Board Chair John Burnside says the shift is part of a return to regular operations as the transit system pushes to revert to pre-pandemic norms.
It's not about targeting people who can't afford to pay. It's about targeting people, or addressing people, I should say, who are unwilling to pay. And there's a big difference. We need to get back to a sense of order on the TTC.
In March 2020, the TTC stopped ticketing people for not paying their fare. But that's led to high levels of fare evasion, which are now estimated to be as high as 13% a month. TTC Commissioner Stephen Holliday says it's created a culture of some riders who now aren't willing to pay.
I'm talking about the people that just think it's okay not to pay. And, I'm going to beat the man, I'm going to beat the government. But what they're really doing is stealing from other riders and stealing from citizens in the city.
Talking with some riders today, they say they've seen people skip out on paying. But Rena Strauss says she's surprised to hear that fare evasion levels are that high.
Kind of crazy. I feel like I pay every time, it's only fair. And if people don't pay, then the rest of the rates are going to go up. But, some people can't afford it and it's hard.
Noe Luna says it's important the TTC not lose money to fare evasion. But she says commissioners should be asking themselves why people aren't willing to pay in the first place.
Some people just don't have the means. And if that's the case, how do we attack that?
Councillor Chris Moyes says with ridership still not fully restored from pandemic lows, this isn't the time to restart ticketing. The focus should be on wooing riders back to the system.
We should hire more ambassadors to go into the system, talk to people, engage people, right? And tell them, the importance of paying their fare.
The TTC estimates that it will collect $6 million in ticket revenue this year. It'll deploy 110 fare inspectors into the transit system starting next month. A ticket for fare evasion on the TTC costs $235. Sean Jeffords, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's go to Colette Kennedy now with a first check on your forecast. And Colette, a bit of cleanup today, but a much quieter day weather-wise.
And just to look back at the day that we had in terms of those temperatures being just above freezing for the GTA, meaning it was allowing a little bit of melt, already some really sloppy sidewalks and some of the roadways. So that's what we're contending with. But tomorrow gives us just a bit of a break into the morning hours before we get some action kind of midday. Now, this is a weaker system, just a little bit of moisture that wants to move through. You'll notice it through the early morning hours there back towards Windsor, although primarily rain there and getting into a little bit of wet flurry activity through Sarnia. This moves in, say, around 10, 11, and then through the early afternoon hours, we'll be dealing with some wet flurries or even a little bit of patchy freezing drizzle coming through the GTA. But I'm hoping that is gone and passed by us by the time we get to that evening commute. -5 tonight, and tomorrow's daytime high, Kelda, going up to 2 degrees again.
Thanks so much, Colette. The search for a suspect is underway after a downtown shooting sent a man to hospital earlier this evening. Toronto police say it happened near Portland and Stewart Streets, south of King West, at around 5:15. And when officers arrived, they located a 27-year-old suffering from a gunshot wound to his abdomen. He remains in hospital in stable condition. Anyone with information is asked to contact investigators. A popular restaurant on King West has been severely damaged after an early morning fire. Toronto fire officials say they have reason to believe it was set intentionally, but aren't saying much more.
There were a lot of things on the exterior of the building that makes it suspicious. So I'm not going to go into any more detail on that.
The building was rented out by a popular Greek restaurant called Myth, located at the corner of Brant and King Street. Toronto Fire says the patio is destroyed, adding that there's damage on both the first and second floors. The restaurant said in a statement that it's reeling from the devastating news and that it plans to rebuild when it's possible to do so. Police have arrested a man in connection with the death of longtime CBC News producer Michael Finley. 43-year-old Robert Robin Crop-Eared Wolf of Toronto has been charged with manslaughter. Crop-Eared Wolf surrendered to police earlier today. A search warrant had been issued for his arrest earlier this month after Finley's death. The 73-year-old Finley was a longtime CBC News producer. He died days after being assaulted while walking along the Danforth in late January. Investigators believe it was a random attack. Welcome back. The Ontario government confirms it is now looking into banning TikTok from all government-issued phones, a step the federal government took this week. Lorenda Redekop explains.
It's a fun app that's exploded in popularity, but governments are raising security concerns, given potential data security issues by the Chinese parent company. Today, the Ontario government confirmed it's looking into what it might do when it comes to allowing the app on government devices.
Well, we're going to take an opportunity to review what is before us, and we will have more to say on that in the very near future.
His colleague Goldie Gamari is the biggest TikToker at Queen's Park, with close to 300,000 followers, usually using the platform to highlight human rights abuses in Iran. She says she uses her personal phone to post, and whatever the government decides won't affect what she does. She does have fun on TikTok during a recent visit with farmers, and even with a political rival, NDP Saul Mamakwa.
Wow, you can really dance.
He uses TikTok for highlighting Indigenous issues and says it helps him reach a national audience.
It's an okay policy to have. Like, I would not stand against it or anything like that.
He's interested to see what a federal investigation will find.
What type of data are they actually looking at or they taking? All of us don't read the fine print of, these apps, and I'm one of them.
He plans to keep using the app if it's banned from government-issued phones, just always from his personal phone. Here's how his party leader responded on what the NDP might do.
I think if the government takes that action, we'll probably do the same thing.
Liberal Party members plan to talk about it this afternoon.
If there are risks to our security, that's an appropriate move. But I'd like to talk to Cox about it first.
This afternoon, the Liberal Party caucus decided it will support whatever decision the government makes on TikTok. If it is banned from government-issued devices, members will be free to post to the app from their personal phones. Lorenda Redicop, CBC News, Toronto.
And this is a live shot of the Toronto skyline, mostly clear tonight with some clouds moving in overnight. Currently, it is 1 degree in the city, feeling more like -3. Let's go back to Colette now. And Colette, a bit of active weather tomorrow, but it's really the end of the week when we'll be hit with another big system.
Well, Kelda, we're really in a pattern where we're along the storm track and kind of seeing every few days a bit of energy or in some cases a stronger system moving through. So we had kind of a stronger one that had the impact on us through yesterday, and we'll have another one to bookend it at the end of the week. But for tomorrow, it's just some wet flurries and some patchy freezing drizzle possible kind of through midday. We get the break before that next one comes in at the end of the week. And this right now, the timing is looking like Friday, kind of late day, and then overnight Friday and into Saturday. So, of course, that timing with the weekend, not great, and especially when it looks like this could be a 10, 15 centimeter or more snowstorm for the end of the week. So that we'll keep an eye on. This is the moisture through tomorrow into the early morning hours. I was mentioning for Windsor, it's mostly rain showers there. You had a very mild day today, even milder through tomorrow, but otherwise a bit of a mix into southwestern Ontario. Wet flurries or light wet snow coming into the GTA, and seeing some of that mixing with a little bit of patching, freezing drizzle, and more of a mix as we get around towards St. Catharines, Grimsby, and through the Niagara region, and what you'll see there. Then Thursday, we'll be encouraging to see some of those clouds breaking up so that we can get some sunshine coming in and have another one of these breather days before that next more powerful storm at the end of the week. So looking forward to that. And just a chance to check out what's happening with our temperatures for you through southwestern Ontario tonight. The readings above freezing for Windsor and for Leamington. You'll notice a slightly different story, though, Sarnia and towards London. Chatham-Kent, you'll be doing okay. And just keeping in mind that we'll also be looking at a bit of a wind chill in towards London and through those areas, because we are talking about a temperature that is below freezing. Into the GTA, a look at your readings overnight tonight. Well, how about -5 in most cases, with the exception of Hamilton and St. Catharines, -2 there in terms of what we'll see Thursday. What a nice day, one of the nicer days of this week. And then by Friday, there we go. We're going to be watching out for that one with more details on that coming up as we get closer to it.
All right, thanks so much, Colette. In Oakville, people, including numerous dignitaries, gathered together to raise awareness and funds for the humanitarian crisis in Turkey and Syria. More than 50,000 people have died since a 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck the two countries back on February 6th, with many more in desperate need of shelter. Dale Manukduk has the story.
Life for us has not been the same since the 6th of February.
Hundreds of people gathered inside the town hall of Oakville to listen to various dignitaries speak about the impacts of the earthquake.
And an area equal to the size of southern Ontario was affected by the earthquakes. This is an event that we show solidarity between two communities, Turkish and Syrian communities, as well as our Canadian friends from all different backgrounds.
In attendance were many politicians from Oakville and the surrounding areas, including local MP and Minister of National Defense, Anita Anand.
We have committed $50 million in humanitarian assistance for the region, which includes
That includes $10 million to help humanitarian partners, $20 million in funding to support critical humanitarian response, and matching up to $10 million each for the Humanitarian Coalition and Canadian Red Cross. But the biggest applause went to real Syrian heroes, the White Helmets, an organization on the ground assisting with search and recovery efforts. 3,000 volunteers are saving lives and recovering the bodies of the dead so their families can bury them with dignity. Speaking through an interpreter, the organization's general manager describes what it's like to rescue someone from the rubble.
It's like a tragic, to looking for something. It's really important, and you found it. And also our motto, to save one life is to save all the humanity.
Local organizations say that shelter is the biggest need on the ground, as many are still sleeping on the streets. In addition to accepting financial donations, organizations are accepting tents, blankets, and other accessories. Dale Manuktuk, CBC News, Oakville.
Meanwhile, Toronto police are helping to get much-needed aid to Turkey and Syria.
Obviously, we all saw the devastation that took place in Turkey and Syria. We felt like we do need to once again deliver and collect donations. So we reached out to our community partners, we reached out to the community in general, and the generosity has been really overwhelming.
This is the second round of humanitarian donations for the region through Project Hope. The items are being packed into containers and put on planes bound for Turkey. Officers from the OPP, RCMP, and Toronto Police have been gathering donations from across the city. Project Hope has already delivered more than $100,000 worth of aid to the region. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Finally tonight, the City of Toronto has dropped its plans to make a permanent festival space at Hanlan's Point on the Toronto Islands. For decades, the beach at Hanlan's Point has been a gathering place for the LGBTQ+ community. They had voiced concern about a new event space. The project team has now confirmed that based on feedback, they are abandoning that part of the plan. Meanwhile, the city announcing it will be providing nearly $2 million in funding for local cultural festivals.
These cultural festivals are so important to enhancing the social life and vibrancy of the City of Toronto. Cultural festivals have an incredibly positive economic and social impact on Toronto, from creating employment and volunteer opportunities, attracting tourists and revenue, raising awareness of important issues, and creating social connections. And they're also a lot of fun.
Deputy Mayor Jennifer McKelvey was joined by representatives from Caribbean Carnival, Celebrate Toronto, and the Toronto Dragon Festival for the announcement. 44 festivals were approved for funding, including 19 new recipients. The Taste of Danforth is also coming back this year. Councillor Paula Fletcher confirmed the news this afternoon. The food festival is one of Toronto's most popular, attracting millions of people annually. It was cancelled last year due to infrastructure concerns. The event is set to take place from August 11th to the 13th. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.